something beautiful is on its way to you. This is the experience of a lifetime, my dear friend. You want to give yourself this at all costs to your ego, your pride, and your fears. Love, it's everywhere. It's beautiful. It lives within. It doesn't need to be created. It is already there for you. We've hiked down 3 canyons, and here we are. Let's shoot it, baby. I feel the funky chicken, the funky Messiah. Yes! Search for yourself on your own. Go within yourself. Find it within your breath, within your very spirit.
Mrs. Nixon is done.
Now I want to do a little magic trick. A spiritual path brings us to a place in our life where we discover the diamond and we learn how to pull it out of the mud. It's all very interesting. I want to welcome you to the last program in our series on what's the point of it all. And what I kind of wanted to do is do a huge kind of summation and then stick something new in there for you to kind of help you understand what my motivation has been in this series of programs. The way we look at our life is a very important thing. Most of us make the foolish mistake of defining our life. And we define it by the idea of death because we are so afraid of our life ending. We look at our life and all of the things that we've done in our life and all the things we've eaten, the places we've gone, the people we've known, and we say to ourselves, what's the point of it all? All you have is a collage of memories. But what are you supposed to do with all those memories? And what does that all mean? The meaning of life is not contained in our death. Death is an interesting moment because it defines me. It kind of tells me where I've been in my life and how I'm going to look at my experience of life. It defines the way I've lived each and every moment, but it's certainly not the end of my life. Most people are deeply afraid of their own death. We make such a tragedy out of death in our country. Why? Because it's the end of a very long series of gratifications. That's it. It's not like my life has been so important to everybody. I'm certainly no Buddha. So how do I look at my life and try to find meaning in it? The meaning of a human being's life is very, very interesting. It has nothing to do with what I've accomplished in and of the world. It's about that thing I told you about in the beginning of our programs. Did I live for that which I could take with me through death? That is the key. Did I? Or did I only live to gratify myself, get what I want, and have a good time? And basically that's what most of us do. We have no idea the significance of each and every moment. Now, I'm not saying to you that you should live seriously. I say live consciously. I say live playfully. That's why Jesus said that only children enter the kingdom of heaven. Adults are not allowed, and the reason is because they know how to play. You and I forgot what play is. To us, it's sitting in front of a TV or maybe playing one of those video games or being entertained in some way. Playing requires consciousness, and that's not something a lot of us do. I did a funeral recently of a friend of mine that I've known for, oh golly, many, many years. And his family did this huge eulogy. He had a lot of money and he made a lot of money in his day. And he left his widow and his children with enough to eat, drink, and be merry for the rest of their lives. And they wanted me to do the eulogy, or the funeral, and I said I would. I wanted to do it. And as I listened to what they had to say, I thought it was very interesting. And they thought that he lived a very good life. But I saw his life as very tragic. I think he died many years ago, long before his physical body dropped of a heart attack. In fact, the accumulation of everything that he did was to try to fight off death and boredom, because he was afraid of what his life would be like after he died. And he was also afraid of what would happen to him if he died. He had no sense of life inside of him at all. It was just stay busy, be productive, And maybe at the end of your life, you'll find some meaning. You know, in a kind of sadistic way, I kind of wonder, just before he died, I wasn't there, he had a heart attack. If anyone would have thought to ask him, well, did it end the way you thought it would? I hardly think so. The way we live is the way we die. How I've lived my life on the inside is not only how I'm going to live my life, but it's also how I'm going to come to that great summation of my life. I would hope that we would look at our lives differently, rather than the accumulation and collage of objects and things and people and events, that I would have somehow grown in consciousness in some way, come to that place inside of me where I can take with me through this experience of death, my life, the meaning of my life, the significance of it. And what would that be? Well, it's not contained in religion, and it's certainly not contained in thought. It's not a philosophy we're talking about here. It is an existential experience. It is the willingness and the ability to have direct experience with life and to allow life to be beautiful. See, to me, when a life is meaningful, it's beautiful. And when it's beautiful, you can take that wherever you go, because that is the ultimate truth of life, beauty. I want you to ask yourself a question. How beautiful is my life? Am I in such awe of the beauty, not of my surroundings and my environment, but in awe of the beauty of everything that life is, that I could actually say, if I died in this moment, if it all stopped for a while, could I feel the essence of myself, my oneness in this beauty, and feel a sense of not achievement, but gratitude for my life? If you're looking for achievement in your life, you're going to miss it. If you're looking for beauty, you'll find everything. It's very important that we look at the gestalt of our life and how we live our life, and how remote we have become to life. Every thought you and I have about what life is, what life isn't, what life should be, what life shouldn't be, keeps me more and more and more remote. You know, I've kind of looked at it. Do people die of old age, or do they die because they live so remotely from life? Maybe every time they go to church or they listen to some idea about what life is and some philosophy, we're getting further and further removed, more and more convinced of our own ideas about life, but further away from life itself. Do you have ideas about life, philosophy? When I would ask my mother and father questions about what life was or why things happen in life, they'd go, well, that's just life, Greg. Well, that was never enough for me, so I had to go in search of some philosophy or something that would answer the quest of my own life. So I went into seminary, and I went and sat with Zen masters, and I went to India. And I can tell you something. One of my very favorite stories is about the man who wanted to know the meaning of life. And he heard about this master who lived on a very remote hill, many, many hundreds of miles away. And he travels for days and weeks to get there. He finds him on the hill. There he's sitting naked, meditating. And the man says, what is the meaning of life? I have come all this way to find it. I've sacrificed everything. And the master looks at him and said, the meaning of life is that it's an endless river. The man looks at him and says, an endless river? He says, you got to be kidding me. He says, that's your answer to the meaning of life? And the master looks at him and says, you mean it's not? Nobody knows the meaning of life. I don't know. All I know is that I live far too remotely from it to understand it. You can't understand life from here. You can only understand it from here. This has no words. This is filled with words and ideas and pictures. Life is to be experienced from the heart. And when you and I are willing to sacrifice and risk getting hurt to feel the essence of love in this life, that's when we have made the ultimate sacrifice and commitment to life. That's when I've begun to experience what it means to live through my death. No longer does death play a role in my life. I don't look at death as the end of my life. I look at death for what it is, an opportunity for me to go into another experience, to feel some. I know what you're saying. You're picking up the phone, right? Do you mean he's talking about reincarnation? You know, we die and are reborn every day in our life as an opportunity. I'm saying that every moment leads to another, to another, to another. And you know, if I live remotely, if I'm not willing to kind of live my life dangerously, instead of playing it safe, be a little more dangerous about experiencing things from my heart, being a more willing, let's say, to forgive, a little more compassionate, a little more understanding, listen a little bit more, don't jump to conclusions, don't hate so readily. If I'm willing to risk a little bit, you begin to find out that this thing really is a marvelous experience. And it's happening all at once. It has nothing to do with time or even space. That there isn't a science even to this life. Life is not scientific. Life, well, it's beyond science. It is a music. And if you really listen to it, it's a beat and a dance. It's a certain rhythm. And it's prevalent in everything in nature, but more importantly, it's prevalent within you and me, and we're just not listening. That's why I urge my students, my counselees, meditate, 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 meditate. Listen, learn how to listen without the mind getting involved in the interpretation of what you are listening to. Does your mind interpret music? Does your mind interpret a sunrise, a sunset, the hills? When it bites into an apple, does it jump in and say, that tastes good? You know, there's a moment before you taste the apple and you come to a conclusion about it, that there is that sacred space where life is happening and you are exposed to the meaning of the apple. That's the beauty of it. And that's really what it's all about. Very few people let them have the experience of life. They're so busy trying to run away from their death, which is inevitable, that they die years before their body drops. You die of religion, you die of belief, you die of philosophy, you die of worry, you die of anger and fear. Those are the diseases we die from. And religion is about a fear of God, a fear of the Lord, fear of a lot of things. Life is fearless, and it doesn't respect those who are afraid to live it to the heart and soul, the essence. This particular meditation is called Prem, and it's a little difficult, it's a little complicated, but you can do it. It's a little hand-eye coordination problem. I'm going to ask you to pay attention with your mind to a metronome going back and forth and back and forth, while at the same time you listen to the chakra drum starting from your root chakra to your crown, and at the same time you're doing a little breathing work where you're breathing in very softly, but you're more concerned about the breath out and holding your breath out. Now, why all of this? Well, we want to keep the mind busy. The metronome kind of keeps the mind going back and forth. It loves little things like tick-tock, tick-tock. Little mundane things the mind gets hooked on, mesmerized by, hypnotized by. Tick-tock, tick-tock. It's really a funny thing, the mind. Doesn't take much to entertain it. But while you're keeping the mind busy, you get to go over here and feel the drums building up the inner chakras, the inner body. The energy starts flowing up and up and up. And while you're doing that and breathing very naturally, but exhaling and really holding the exhale on the out breath, not on the in breath, you are creating the space for the energy to come into you and renew you. You're going to feel a deep sense of healing, a deep sense of renewal, a kind of a surrender and a trust in something inside you that is really very kind and very good. One of the things I try to help my students understand, and they just don't get it, a lot of them, is there is innate goodness in every human being, in you and me. But how do we feel that innate goodness? If I tell you you're innately good, you'll go, yeah, 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 yeah. But if I can get you to feel that innate goodness inside, which is what Prem is about, you'll start to trust in that goodness. How will that help you? Obviously. When you're out in the world, you're busy doing whatever you're doing, there's a little doubt that sinks into you, a little depression sinks into you, you'll start to feel, wait a minute, I remember the goodness of my being, the essence of myself. Where is that energy? Well, you can find it in Prem. It's a very, complicated little meditation for the mind to conjure up. But once you get in sync with it, you get the CD, you listen to it, you watch the metronome in your mind going tick, tock, you'll get it. So I'm having Moksha and Subhuti do this with me. You're going to be hearing a metronome going. And what they're doing right now is closing their eyes, and they're letting their minds go back and forth with the metronome. Tick, 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 tick. Just listen. Now in the background, you will hear the drums of the chakras coming up from the root chakra into the crown. Now what they're going to do is breathe very softly, breathing in softly and breathing out, but putting the emphasis on the out breath by holding it. In doing so, they're letting the energy come into themselves. Think of it as opening up a door, and some of the air, the beautiful air, gets to come into that stale room of yours, okay? Again, they're watching the metronome go tick-tock, tick-tock. They're breathing very gently, naturally, but on the out-breath, they're holding. And at the same time, they're allowing the feel of the chakra drumming to drum right up into the crown chakra, from the root all the way up. Breathing naturally and holding on the exhale. Feeling the chakra drumming going up, but letting the mind connect to the metronome going back and forth. This takes a little practice, and I have to say a little determination. But once you've mastered this little meditation, you're going to find, oh my God, there is innate goodness in me. I now know what he's talking about when he says, trust in my goodness, because I want you to trust in your goodness. Religion would have you trust in your fear, your hate, that you're a terrible person. I say you're a wonderful person on the inside. Practice this little meditation. It'll help you immensely. We're going to take a little break. We're going to be right back. Please don't go away. Stay. I wanted to end this series on a very personal basis. This is my secret place where I come to renew myself and to remember what the point of it all is. I like sitting here on New Year's Day and looking out over the beauty of all of this, watching the sunrise. It's quite spectacular. Anyway, I hope you understood a lot of the things that I tried to share with you in this series. If there are things I want you to remember, it would be only live for those things that you can take with you through death. Don't live remotely from your own life. Expose yourself to life. Do everything you can to let life live you. And above all, remember it's a mystery. There's no plan for your life. There's no perfect outcome. It's a great and loving mystery. And those people who can live life as a mystery, without a beginning, a middle, and an end, who are not being chased through life by death, these are the people who find a great beauty in everything that they do. This is the prayer of your life. It's so sacred. I want to thank all the people that make Aspire happen. I want to thank from the bottom of my heart MERLIN Productions for all the hard work they do. They make me look good and they make Aspire happen. If you only knew how hard they work. I want to thank all of you who are sponsors, who have hung with us through the years and have hung with us monthly and quarterly to make sure we had enough money to purchase more airtime. And I want to thank all of you who supported us with your special gifts that were used to make these programs. And I want to thank a very special angel in my life who I love very much and who has always believed in me and what I was trying to do, who came through at the end and made this all happen. I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. I hope that you enjoyed the programs and that they meant something to you. Please forgive me, won't you? Namaste. Oh, he's always talking about reincarnation. He's always talking about that stuff. I can't handle it.
You think I don't know that you're watching me?
We have won many Emmys and many Telly Awards, and many of you think I have this gigantic crew around me. It's time that you meet the crew at the end of this series. And this is how it's all done. We forgot one more, and this is Derek.
Again, there might be some other freaks here around here that we're interfering with.
Could be.
We could change the freak.
Freak.
I gave him the key to awakening. I told him, be that which you are. You think he'd get it? No way. No way. What did he do? Starts betting on the ponies.
This is what we use to make Aspire happen. Happy stick. Okay, I'm ready.
He doesn't drink or smoke, but man, can that man cuss.
I hope you will support us and keep us on the air with your tax-deductible gift and maybe sell your children. Let's go home.